We're live now.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. We are reading from the 21st flash, the second means. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise and thanks is due to Allah. And I guess my dua that comes to my heart is La ilaha illa ant subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin. ربنا لا توفنا إلا ونحن مسلمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. All right. The second means, inshallah, Friha.
Yes, ma'am.
By attaining a sense of the divine presence through the strength of certain affirmative belief and through the lights proceeding from reflective thought on creatures, which leads to knowledge of the Maker, by thinking that the compassionate Creator is all present and all seeing, and by not seeking the attention of any other than He, and realizing that looking to others in His presence or seeking help from them is contrary to right conduct in His presence, one may be saved from such hypocrisy and gain sincerity. However, this comprises many degrees and stages. Whichever degree a person reaches, he will profit to that extent. There are numerous truths in the Risale-i Nur that will save a person from hypocrisy and gain him sincerity. So referring him to those, we cut short the discussion here. Of the very many things that destroy sincerity and drive one to hypocrisy, we shall briefly explain 2 or 3. The first, rivalry towards material advantages slowly destroys sincerity. It's also detrimental to the results of our service. So too, it causes the material benefits to be lost. This nation has always nurtured respect for those who work for reality and the hereafter, and has assisted them with the intention of actively sharing in their genuine sincerity and in the works they carry out devotedly. It has always showed respect by assisting them with material benefits like alms and gifts, to save them from preoccupation with securing their material needs and wasting their time. But such assistance and benefit may not be sought, it is given. It may not even be sought through the tongue of disposition by inwardly desiring it or awaiting it. It should rather be given unexpectedly. Otherwise, sincerity will be harmed. It would otherwise bring a person close to the prohibitions stated by the verse, nor sell my signs for a small price. Surah 2 Al-Baqarah, Ayah 41. And in part destroys the action. The evil commanding soul selfishly excites a feeling of rivalry towards a true brother and companion in that particular service by first desiring and expecting such a material benefit, then not allowing it to go to someone else. sincerity is damaged and the sacredness of the service is lost. And the person becomes disagreeable in the eyes of the people of reality. He also loses the material benefit. This subject needs much discussion, but I shall curtail it and only mention 2 examples, which will strengthen sincerity and true union between my true brothers. Shall we pause and or just continue?
I think it's a good idea, Sarah. Let's pause here, inshallah.
Okay. So maybe I can try the moderation. I actually have a little bit of time today, and then you guys can help me, inshallah.
Definitely, inshallah.
So going back to the beginning, there's this invitation to attain a sense of the divine presence, which is a beautiful invitation because now we're being called to transcend from just knowing something to actually being in the presence of that which we believe. And then the author calls this affirmative belief, which can also be termed as, I guess, conviction that people say. Through the lights proceeding from reflective thought. So reflection is the key in order to arrive at this divine presence, moving from third perspective of knowing this being out there to being directly in the presence of this being. The reflective thought on creatures, which leads to knowledge of the maker. By thinking that the compassionate creator is all present and all seeing, and by not seeking the attention of any other than he. So the main point I'm getting here is that the hypocrisy lies when we are looking to others or seeking help from others as opposed to seeking the source. Then we're given what destroys sincerity. So the first point that destroys sincerity is rivalry towards material advantages. And I think a lot of times people say, oh, no, but I don't have this rivalry. It's very easy to dismiss it. But since the author is mentioning it here, it deserves a reflective thought so that we can be more mindful. How could we be at a state of rivalry towards material advantages? Maybe everyone can take a moment to pause. And what material advantages is it that you seek or you wish for? Since the loss is very big, this is going to be the loss of sincerity and then driving one towards hypocrisy. He's saying that this nation has always nurtured respect for those who work for reality and the hereafter. That was confusing for me and has assisted them. I'm not sure. Does anyone have any thoughts on one? I'm in total agreement. If anyone has any questions about how rivalry towards material advantages destroys sincerity, then please feel free to share. But to me, it seems like a very obvious truth. If we are desiring something in a way that's wishing we had it, and we look to another and wish we've had it, then we've completely lost sight of that presence. If we know that the source out there is infinite and has infinite ability, infinite treasures, and we're directly connected to this being, then there's no fear, no rivalry, there's no sense of seeing yourself as needing all of these material things, because you already see yourself living in abundance. You see how in every moment you're given the whole universe to give you breath, and the whole universe has to come together to give you water or food. So already I see how the one that owns the treasuries of the whole universe is in direct contact with all of my needs and already taking care of them. So to be in a state of rivalry or wishing I had something shows that I've already disconnected myself from that infinite source and don't see myself as being totally covered and provided for. I suppose that would be how we leave the divine presence, which happens when we stop reflecting on all of that which we're already given in the here and now. But what I don't understand is the sentence that says, "This nation has always nurtured respect for those who work for reality and the hereafter and has assisted them." Does anything come to mind from anyone? Oh, I see a question. How are we seeking material benefits which can lead to rivalry? And how is rivalry detrimental to our existence while we are seeking material benefits? Those were the question states here. Okay, got it.
Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
Had my hand up,
Oh,
but
sorry.
No worries, it's fine. So my friend here wants to say something.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you for the comment about explaining the rivalry. I think that makes sense to me. About the question about this nation has always nurtured respect for those who work for reality. I think it's the author is talking about at his time when they were working on this particular section. I would say, I don't know the background, but basically the ones who are working for the truth, I'm sure they're in certain countries, they support certain scholarships where they want the scholars to focus on what they're supposed to do. So the government probably subsidizes or gives them the accommodations and their living expenses. So I would think that's what probably this author kind of is hinting at during his time, because later on he kind of in that paragraph also develops the fact which I'm trying to understand, like how the assistance and benefit cannot be sought. I think that's a universal principle that ties into sincerity. As you said, that we need to look and examine whatever is already given to us and appreciate that which is given to us. That if we are going towards rivalry in terms of with other fellow beings to which for material advantages, then we are not really looking into our situation and not really disconnecting ourselves from what has already been given to us. So that's one part of it. But the part where he says the assistance and benefit may not be sought, it is given. I can understand that. Yeah, so it is given. I understand that part, but it cannot be sought. And the author kind of elaborates that it may not even be sought through the tongue of disposition by inwardly desiring it or awaiting it. I can see how that makes sense to me, but I'm looking for like some practical example also in terms of how he ties that to the verse, "Nor sell my signs for a small price," as he said, Quran chapter 2 verse 41, and there are many other verses like that. And this is the human attitude, I would say, in terms of how to not seek help from anything that is without the connecting it to the Lord of the universe, my Lord. I should understand he's taking care of me, but not really seek any material gain, especially if, like I don't want to be personal, but maybe in the positions of chaplains or in the imams or the priests, those who are doing a service for the sake of, propagating the truth. Right? So, and maybe, the ones who are doing discussions for, to help, to kind of propagate also the message and bring the truth of our existence here to, our friends and, family members. So, but there is have to be careful in terms of not maybe gaining a social status, maybe gaining a popularity, or So I'm thinking along those lines, and I mean I understand what the author kind of is saying, but I'm just trying to digest it a little bit. How inward desire, what is that? Awaiting it. So there's basically not to have any expectation. That is interesting. But how do we get it, get to expect it to be given unexpectedly?
I, I think I'm glad you brought this up, both of you. So I have a very basic practical example from what I understand here. Really based on like how you started off, like if somebody's in a certain kind of field, they know that it comes with certain benefits or accommodations. And we're talking about belief matters here. So, like, whichever institution or governing bodies that support such fields or area of study, then they provide, like, I don't know, housing, um, other benefits as well. So if and then here I am working for the truth, the belief matters. So like there is a slippery road where I may be inclined to, if I get into, this side of the field, or if I, accept this offer, I'm going to get all this. It's like, it's a slippery road in terms of it's unavoidable. Mm-hmm. So I think what I understand from what the author is saying, so that should not be sought after. That shouldn't be like, there is a, danger that I may fall into that, but rather I should still stay, hey, I'm so excited about that truth. I'm so, enthusiastic that this is exactly what I'm going to do, and the rest just follows accordingly, where my mind should not slip into, oh, you know what, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that, and like you were saying, status, or all this stuff. Yeah. So this is how I understand, and tying that to the verse, nor sell my signs for a small price. I think it's also that, hey, I don't own the truth, and so why am I even
expecting a prize?
Yeah,
or expecting a reward.
Exactly, right.
The worldly.
You got it.
So I should leave whatever the reward. I shouldn't worry about the reward, because that's already in my connection with my relationship with my Lord.
Like when it comes to, exactly. When it comes to belief matters, there's no such thing as like a transaction, in other words.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this is how
Good example. I like it. Thank you.
Yep. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. It helped me as well clarify the case.
Thank you, guys, for sharing that. What came to I wasn't even, I didn't make the connection to only those who are in a position of sharing the truth, like who's, or someone who's given assistance in that way. And I see how that connection was made from the sentence before now with Asim's clarity. But I was thinking, even for myself, like I'm not in a position of a chaplain or anything like that, but any material gain, what came to my mind or what came to my heart was even seeking any gain through the tongue of disposition by inwardly desiring it or awaiting it. Not just a position of sharing knowledge, but it just occurred to me that what if that also refers to, you know, us average people that are not in a position of being a chaplain, but just someone who is on the path of trying to gain sincerity, inshallah. It seemed to me, I don't know if this could apply also, but any type of gain that we are desiring or awaiting, it seems almost as though to desire or await something is to be disconnected from the one who gives you the need for it. So let's say I have a need for whatever it is, the source gives me that need and is the one taking care of all of my needs. So it should rather be given unexpectedly. Otherwise, sincerity will be harmed. It just gave me kind of a new light, if this is even applicable, of sincerity, because if sincerity of believing in God is 100%, which means everything, 100%, even 100 divided by 100 is 1. So if the my need is coming from the source and the sustenance, basically every need being taken care of, is also coming from the source, then when I notice a new need for any material or any gain, to know with that certainty, that affirmative belief that was mentioned in the first paragraph, that it will be taken care of, means that I can just be trusting that it will be given. What did he say exactly? It may not be sought any benefit, it'll be given. I'm not sure if that applies, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, thank you. That makes sense. I'm also trying to see how this applies to us. Based, my comment was also because I know we're all trying to learn here, and how do we make that relationship in terms of because the tongue of disposition is based on how our faculties, and we for example, I'm working and I do a particular job, I have a contract, and I expect a particular salary based on that work. So that's our normal kind of day-to-day routine that works. But here in this is, I think, mostly focusing on the truth or the reality or the matters of the service for the for the Quran, as a maybe a student and a teacher of the Quran. But I think everybody kind of is like a mirror to that aspect of reflecting, and then people who observe, they also can benefit, and then they can reflect that also within themselves. So yeah, desiring it or awaiting it, it should rather be given unexpectedly. So it's really I think the how I have my relationship with my Lord. Is there any transaction, as Faria was kind of saying, or is it like purely my recognition of him, and that everything comes from him, as you said, like that 100% kind of conviction, so to speak. So that kind of ties into the how sure I am, how convinced and satisfied I am with my relationship with my Lord, that that I don't really bother about anything that in terms of my material gains. Yeah, interesting.
I actually also liked what Sarah shared about, our needs. So when my need is met, and, if I'm just get lost in, whatever is it, how is it met? And, then there's a disconnect with the source of my existence. And so that's, I think, such assistance and benefit may not be sought, it is given. So I don't know, I was just trying to make that connection with what she shared. That's good.
And also, being a mirror is not that you own the thing.
Yeah.
The message or the whatever is being shared. Being a mirror means not to own it, because the owner is the one who owns the whole, you know, the whole message or the universe and the whole guidance. One can only receive. So we are all like on the receiving end of the guidance, and we should leave it to that, right?
Absolutely.
Brother Ali, I had saw your hand go up for a moment before. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Really, just joining the discussion and sharing the ideas, listening to them was beautiful. So I wanted to also share my feelings. So the question was, actually you touched upon this subject. Material advantages slowly destroy sincerity. But in order to not concentrate on the material advantages, I think we have to use the means of reflective thought on creatures. It is related, I found that it's related, because if I don't reflect on the creatures, it means they are created, although you mentioned this, but I wanted to emphasize on the importance of it. You will understand, we will understand that if you reflect on the creatures, we will understand that they need to be created. They cannot be the source of my benefit, whatever I am expecting from them. For example, even it is not the material benefits I understand in a wider sense, which means not only money, property, but I understand that, again, social status among my status in my family members, etc. They are all material. I think I understand they are all created things. So I have to understand, for example, I want to gain some sort of respect in the community that I am in, or in the family, extended family members. I have to reflect on it. I am going to get this higher status in the eyes of my relatives. Okay, what am I going to gain from it? Think about yourself. Everybody is admiring you. Okay, everybody is admiring me. So what happened? I was a great man in the eyes of the people, and everybody comes to me for help and respects me. Excellent. What am I going to do with it? Can I really preserve my respect by myself? So even I may try all the means to preserve the respect of the people. At the end, I will become an old man, and everybody will know that I am totally in need of, I'm totally a creature who is in need of the help of others, and all the dignity, everything will be reduced to zero when I die. It's transient. So when we do the reflective thought, which is the original word is, which is difficult to translate, imani thought. That's why the translator found it difficult. Thought reflecting, reflecting on the imani side of the matter. What does it mean? On the matter which refers to its source of existence. Think about it. I am thinking about myself. The dignity I gain among my friends or my family members. Now, imani perspective of it, this dignity and need of this dignity does not come from me. It is created in me and I cannot own it. That's why at the end of the discussion, you cannot gain the respect of the people, but people may prefer to respect you. That is their business. You have to mind yourself, your own responsibility. So I shouldn't try to gain the respect of the people. Of course, the opposite is not suggested here. It means I should make myself on a very low level that no one will respect me. So I will say, you see, again, I will be proud of my modesty, for example. This is again gaining respect or attempt to gain respect. This is related to imani, any aspect of the aspect of the matter of anything, aspect of the thing of anything. No, the English is not correct. Aspect of anything which looks to its source of existence. That is Imani perspective. I understand this. If we have this reflection alive always with us, so we will see that only the creator of that event or that thing, that feeling is permanent. Nothing which is created is permanent, and it is not really worth considering or working for. I see the difference, sort of relationship between them. So that was my thought. Thank you very much.
That thought is actually very clarifying for me. Imani thought versus reflective thought, because it's actually deeper than just a reflective thought. Imani thought already refers us back to the confirmed belief that the author is pointing us back to, meaning that in a way assuming that we already have inside of our hearts. So in a way it's a reflective belief, or a reflective belief thought. So I love the connection with material gains, not just being, for example, wanting a home or wanting a certain profession, but even wanting attention or admiration or respect, which widens the, how we can all connect to this concept of rivalry then. Like, what is it that we want? It could not just be a house or a car or a job or an advancement, but even admiration and attention. And what came to me during Brother Ali's sharing was the reflective imani thought on that would mean, I notice this need now comes from you. So for me to, in a way, part of me when I was reading that part that Asim shared, like on the next page, 219, it may not even be sought through the tongue of disposition by inwardly desiring it or awaiting it, because we all find ourselves inwardly desiring something or awaiting it. And how is that a lack of sincerity? But now with the clarification of an imani reflective thought would say that inward desire for something is also given, So for me or I to just desire it and wait for it and occupy myself with that can easily and subtly turn into a way that's disconnected from the source, because it's now me desiring something and trying to work for it, as opposed to the Imani reflective thought, which came with the clarity of Dr. Ali's message or sharing, would be noticing that that desire with the background now of Iman is given, and there's a conviction or an affirmation in it that comes with the promise of it being satisfied, as opposed to just a desire that's now occupying me and me waiting for, that can easily be subtly disconnected from the giver. And then sell my signs for a small price would be sort of like a way for us to see exactly what that looks like, for us to have a desire or a need for something and start working for it in a way that's disconnected from the source, is to be very cheap, or a very cheap price, because you've disconnected yourself from the infinite source. Does anyone have any thoughts, reflections, comments on this part? Fariha?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Very helpful. I'm going to go back to Brother Ali's comment, or maybe I didn't really catch it well, or I need to do some Imani reflection on it. We were talking about respect. So we were saying, okay, so it also applies to respect. It should not be sought after, rather, it's given. Yeah, it makes sense. However, there are certain situations where, you have to speak up, where you have to say, excuse me, like, you're disrespecting me or something like that. Like, if the feeling is given, I understand. Like, okay, what's going on? Like, you feel treated, disrespectfully. Okay, once you're like, okay, I don't know this person. Okay, see, I won't see him or her, then, in my life next time. But like, oh, if it's something like, a constant or a frequent, encounter, then, after a couple of times, you're like, now you have to like sort of like start a communication about it. Just communicate your, what you just express yourself out in terms of, that that's seeking justice, or that's just, it's unpleasant. So, just like revise whatever is it that you're doing. So that part, and even within that, I think we gotta bring, like you were saying, Sarah, the inner dimension of things, in terms of, okay, so this feeling is given not by myself. It's not me. Hey, guess what? I need respect, but that's how my creator has made me. That, we all have this desire to be respected. And so within this sense, it means that, my maker, wills it that way, in terms of, I think I need also to assess my kids in terms of how am I respectful towards creation, which ultimately points to the creator as well. So even handling this situation, it's got to be done in a respectful way where I'm conscious of, the source of my existence. So just wanted to bring that up. I don't know what your thoughts are. Thanks.
I'll just share something and then I'll open it up to see if anyone else has something else to say. It's a beautiful reflective comment. And I think that one that comes up very often with, okay, we get the feeling, but then I also need to act. So back to page 218, the first sentence, I feel like the wording is so subtle, but very deep and profound that it needs to be, the answers are all in the first sentence, I think. By attaining a sense of the divine presence. So here's this feeling that lands on me for a need of respect. Is it I that all of a sudden get angry and I need respect? How could that? Because then that's already disconnected from the divine presence. So how can we look at that situation by attaining the divine presence through the strength of certain affirmative belief and through the lights proceeding from reflective thought on, let's say, the feeling. So it would, and look at how many levels: affirmative belief. So and then there's also reflective thought, the lights that come from reflective thought. So there would be it seems to me there would need to be a pause, which is what we don't usually do, speaking for myself. When that feeling lands of I need justice, there needs to be a pause. Okay, there's a signal coming down. There's a need for justice that's being sent down as a signal that's occurring. So then I pause and I seek the sender. I go back to my affirmative belief or my imani belief and say, this is you calling me. This is you signaling to me this need. Reflective thought. Now, how do I respond to this need? That would how I would imagine to be a reflective thought happening in the moment. It would be the question, how do I respond now to this need? Because I'm seeking the divine presence. I'm not seeking myself for the way. By doing that part of affirmative belief and reflective thought that's in that first sentence, the light now comes of the divine presence. And the response will be given unexpectedly, from what I understand. Because I went back to my belief, which means I know it was you that sent me this need, and you that sent this situation. And I know, so belief means I've already did that belief training, that imani work, that I can have conviction and I can go back to that. Now the lights of reflection would say, okay, now how am I to respond? And that moment of seeking guidance would reveal the light then of it being given, which Faria, how does that look like in practical life? I would say the response would just flow through you. It would be given. And that's what I understand from the word given, is you don't have to go demand my rights and I'm going to charge and I'm going to go, which is in a disconnected state, as opposed to a belief state of light, which seems much more, I would just say, confirmed belief. That's that conviction and that divine presence that's with you and inspired. Does anybody else have anything to add to that or anything different to say?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry. Just
Please.
yeah.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it's just like, how we say follow the order in creation. So within the order, like when you anything that you're doing consciously, communicating, expressing yourself out, letting another party know that, this is not appreciated, or so on and so forth. That's also following the order, like you were saying, there's this need that's given to me. It doesn't belong to me, but I'm just letting it flow through me, to recognize that, the source of my existence is the one that's, that has imparted this feeling onto me. So that, so just connecting all the feelings to a one, not of the nature of this universe. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, alhamdulillah. I don't see any other hands raised for now. So we can continue through the text. The evil commanding soul selfishly excites a feeling of rivalry towards a true brother and companion in that particular service by first desiring and expecting such a material benefit, then not allowing it to go to someone else. So then my question is, how do we not allow it to go to someone else by the feeling of rivalry? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
So this is the second paragraph that you read on page 219.
Mhm.
Let's revisit that again. So the evil commanding soul selfishly excites a feeling of rivalry towards a true brother and companion in that particular service by first desiring and expecting such a material benefit, then not allowing it to go to someone else. I think it's greed, maybe. And I mean, like, me first. But your question was, what was it again, Sarah, please?
How is it that when we have this feeling of rivalry or wishing that we had something that someone else has, does that then not allow it to go to someone else? Because it makes sense that the sincerity would be damaged now because, like we said, we're disconnecting ourselves from the source of abundance through looking at someone else in a horizontal way, looking at what they have and saying, oh, I wish I had that, or, some sort of rivalry, because then sincerity is lost. Because, well, if you just connected yourself to the infinite source, you would see how you're given and you would not feel any insecurity with being given. Then how do we not allow it to go to someone else? Go ahead, Freya. I see your hand. If it's still, or
Okay.
did you have to?
Yeah, okay. So basically, selfish means basically at the detriment of others. I'm only looking for my sake without regarding the feelings of others or anything else. So the evil commanding soul, it selfishly excites. So just to take, it's only for me, but nobody else. So not allowing to go to someone else that's what selfishness is actually. That, only I should be the one benefiting. And I don't care if the others are not really, gonna get it. So it's that's what I understood. And the evil commanding excites a feeling of rivalry towards a true brother. So I feel that by displaying that selfish attitude and maybe even triggering the feeling of rivalry in the other brother, both of them are kind of now hurting. I would say, it's like not just the selfish brother, but the other one also now who has now this notion of, hey, there's a competition going on, unless there's that imani reflection going on again, as the first paragraph was kind of hinting at. So that was my thought. Those were my thoughts on this.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, that's very clarifying. That selfishness, so to be selfish is to just want something for yourself. And in that is almost like a prayer that you don't want somebody else to have it, which would then describe not allowing it to go to someone else. So we can see selfishness is actually it's a dangerous feeling, because that attitude does affect not only yourself, but others, which is it's a pretty profound sentence, I think, for me. If anyone doesn't have any comments, we'll keep going, and maybe inshallah get to the first example. Just alert me if you see anybody's hands up, inshallah. So sincerity is damaged and the sacredness of the service is lost, which makes sense. And the person becomes disagreeable in the eyes of the people of the truth or reality. He also loses the material benefit. This subject needs much discussion, but I shall curtail it and only mention 2 examples, which will strengthen sincerity and true union. Okay, so the first example. The worldly and even certain politicians and secret societies and manipulators of society have adopted as their guiding principle that of shared property in order to procure wealth and power. They do acquire an extraordinary strength and advantage, despite all their exploitation and losses. However, the nature of common property does not change with sharing, despite its many harms. Although each partner is as though the owner and supervisor, although each partner is as though the owner and supervisor of the rest in one respect, he's unable to profit from it. Nevertheless, if the principle of shared property is applied to the works of the hereafter, it accumulates vast benefits and produces no loss, for it means that all the property passes to the hands of each partner. For example, there are 4 or 5 men. With the idea of sharing, one of them brings paraffin, another a wick, another the lamp, another the mantle, and the 5th matches. They assemble the lamp and light it. Each of them becomes the owner of a complete lamp. If each of those partners has a full-length mirror on a wall, he will be reflected in it together with the lamp and room, without deficiency or being split up. Just the same, our mutual participation in the goods of the hereafter through the mystery of sincerity, and cooperation through the mystery of brotherhood, and joint enterprise through the mystery of unity. The total obtained by those joint acts and all the light enters the book of good deeds of each person taking part. This is the fact and has been witnessed by the people of reality. It is required also by the breath of divine mercy and munificence. My brothers, God willing, material benefits will not provoke rivalry among you. You may possibly be deceived in regard to the benefits of the hereafter, like some of those who follow the Sufi path. But how can some personal minor merits be compared with the merit and light manifested in respect of the shared actions mentioned in the above example? Okay, so let's go back. So we see how the author points out that it's true that we see all the corruption and the people involved in it do procure wealth and power and strength and advantage. But it also comes with exploitation and losses. But the differences between the comparison between the corrupted worldly people and the second paragraph, it seems as though the nature of common property does not change with sharing despite its many harms. There's no true profit from it. Now, I think to better understand that, we look at the example of the shared property. Now, when there's true union, he says the principle of shared property and a true union, because we see that selfishness, right, with politicians and secret societies, there's this real selfishness that leads to people being extremely wealthy and having this worldly power. But what they don't have now is this concept of this shared unity that the author is saying will strengthen sincerity. Now, the second paragraph. If the principle of shared property is applied to the works of the hereafter, it accumulates vast benefit and produces no losses. So we understand through our discussions that works of the hereafter refers to being connected to the source who is beyond this world. Then there's no loss and only vast benefit. All the property passes to the hands of each partner. So then there's the example, if there's 4 people that are working together and sharing, then instead of the lamp being divided, like each person only has a fifth, since there's 5, they all have a lamp. And the lamp could also be an analogy, I think, that's used for that which brings light. So it's light is indivisible. And now if we connect that analogy to the hereafter or the source, we see that if as a union, we are connected to the infinite first through that affirmative belief without rivalry, and instead share property, like hold hands with our true brothers and sisters with whatever we are given, whether it's material or immaterial, then we will notice how each of them becomes the owner of a complete lamp. That's each person becomes maybe a participant or an observer. I don't know, it's something probably deeper than that, but actually tastes the blessings all together of the one lamp. It reminds me of something that's said often, like if there's food that's prepared and you share, everyone gets a dish, and you do it out of true belief, as opposed to, oh, maybe there's not going to be enough. I don't know if we should invite this many people. Let's not, just in case there's not enough, which would be the attitude of disconnection and the attitude of not having unity. Then surely you will find that it will not be enough, because there's this selfishness that's, oh, I want a big plate. And then all of a sudden there's only enough for 1 or 2 people. Sorry about that. But if we have this shared unity, and I'm just going to bring the example of a dinner table, and through this affirmative belief of the source who's beyond, as many people can eat from that plate and everyone would be satiated, and it would be as though the blessing was indivisible. Everybody would have a share. I'm not sure if that, but I like what it says, without deficiency or being split up, because each person is getting a taste of the blessing from the source, and that's blessed. It's I don't know if Brother Ali, you can share what the original words were, but I'm sure it seems like it's pointing to this concept of the barakah, the blessing or the bounty in unity. Let's see. Okay, Brother Ali, please.
Yeah. Although the subject you are dealing with is interesting, I would like to go back. I was reflecting on the verse which says, "Nor sell my signs for a small price." Bi'ayati. Nor selling signs with for a small price. I understand that, or everybody here understands that everything which is created is a sign to its creator. May it be something material out there, an animal or any star up there, or my feelings. All of them are signs to its creator. They are created to be a means of reaching out to their original creator, to their originator. If I use them not in order not to get to know their creator, if I use these signs in everything in the created world, whatever it is, material or otherwise we may call it spiritual, everything is created, whatever we experience in this world. So these signs are to be used in order to acknowledge the eternal source of their creator. If I don't use it to acknowledge the eternal creator of their eternal creator, but rather use it in order to gain some sort of benefit for myself, a material benefit or status or dignity among the society, whatever it is, for myself, which are very cheap. Why? After a certain time, all of them will go into annihilation or temporary. Anything temporary compared to the permanent one is a small price, if it is a price at all. So if we really concentrate the importance of the creation and importance of our duty to reflect on them and see the creator manifesting himself, demonstrating himself to us, and attaching myself together with the object that I am reflecting on to him and seeing his presence in my life through the manifestation of the creation there, then I will appreciate the value of everything, and I will find myself in the presence of my creator. That is not selling for a small price, but really gaining the eternity. Gaining the eternity. The rivalry, not necessarily that it takes between the religious people. Now I'm jumping to another subject. Or the religious leaders in the society, anybody can rival with another one in order to gain some sort of status in the society, even, for example, gain the attention of the children. Husband may try to attract the attention of the children and pull the children's attention to his own family background, family members, and mother may try the other one. These are so practical in our life. If we want to really convey the truth to the people, we have to see the presence of the creator in everything. Otherwise, the rivalry is inevitable as far as I understand. Competition is inevitable, and everything will be considered in a self-centered manner. And self-centered manner means really expecting other people's respect on you, and you are replacing the presence of God with your own presence in any matter that you are dealing with or you are engaged with. That is very dangerous, I think. Thank you. I wanted to go back. So, sorry.
No, that's a very beautiful, and I think very, again, mashallah, clarifying comment. I actually went back to this verse, and it's a little bit more. So it says, and don't, what's the comment? Do not sell my signs for a small price. And it continues. Yeah, Fariha, good job. That's even better. And to me, be conscious. وَإِيَّايَ فَاتَّقُونَ. And of me, be conscious. So it makes sense now. I think just that second part. In the text, it says, nor sell my signs for a small price, but the complete ayah ends with, and of me, be conscious. So it makes sense now that at any point we don't see the feeling or whatever it is that's given as a sign, as an ayah, then it is, like Dr. Ali said, it would be the infinite compared to any number is 0. So that would be the small price. And then I love how the ayah ends. Sorry, I didn't even. وَإِيَّايَ فَاتَّقُونَ, and of me, be conscious. So that would be the solution. That would be the solution. Otherwise, we are inevitably, like Dr. Ali said, and I like the word, inevitably falling into rivalry because, and I like that word because I think it's easy for us to dismiss, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not being rival. I don't need anything. But it's true. It could be very subtle, whatever it is that we want or wish we had. If it's not an ayah, if we're not seeing it as an ayah, that's indicating the giver, a sign to the giver that's beyond, that's infinite in abundance, then we're subjecting ourselves to the almost torturous feeling of falling inevitably into this rivalry, this sense of rivalry. Does anybody have any comments or anything they'd like to share? Otherwise, Brother Ali.
Now, this example of the lamp and used by everyone, although they had only a piece contributed to the building up the lamp, it reminds me that, let me think about 100 people got lost in the desert, a wilderness. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know which way they should take. And they are hungry, they are thirsty, etc. Now, only one of them know the way to get to the source. Source means water and whatever they need. This is an example. What happens? Only one of them know, the others don't. His knowledge will be shared equally by 100 people, 1,000 people. How beautiful reality it is in the creation of this world. For example, I didn't know what the truth is. 1 million people didn't know what the truth is. A person, let's use a good example. A prophet is employed and loaded by God on him the knowledge, the guidance that the people need. 1 million people need, 10 million, 1 billion people need. Just one person knowing the truth will benefit 1 billion people, even the number is not restricted at all, by everyone equally. For example, if someone knows one thing and there are 500 people in the room and this person knows the truth or something that they need and speaks, there are 5 people or 500 people or 1,000 people, doesn't matter. Everybody equally hears and learns the truth from this man, his speech. So his speech, my hearing of the speech does not prevent you hearing of his speech. That is some sort of, if you like, quote unquote, mystery in creation. It means doesn't really count in mathematical terms. You cannot divide truth into 100, 1,000, whatever. Truth is absolute. Truth cannot be divided. Everybody benefits from it. So this section is about a guidance for the people of truth. So he says, what is the point in competing with each other that I will be the best, I will be the most well-known man to be a religious leader in the society so the people will respect? No, you don't have to be an imam, as you said earlier on. You can be a mother or father or a brother, sister, whatever, and you may I may try to gain a superior position among my siblings. That attitude of rivalry reduces the reality to nothing. It means that rivalry causes crash, how do you say, fighting? No, destroying each other, competition, and sorry?
Quarrel.
Quarrel, thank you. So he said, this nation, that was a question actually earlier on put forward by one of our friends here. This nation always expects the people of truth, they respect them, and they are expecting them to not to have quarrel among themselves. That is very interesting. Although I may not be a good person, but I would like my leader, especially a person in the position of teaching me religion and God and any sacred thing, I want him to be honest, sincere, not self-centered, selfish, but also very altruist and sacrificing his side and giving to others. That is why the people of truth, when we are presenting the truth to our children, for example, teaching them, we shouldn't confuse the truth with expecting them to respect us, for example, or to gain any material support from them, but just invite them to get the truth and follow the truth and be men of the truth. They should see that I am not selfish at all. I am just sharing the truth as I believe to be the truth and conveying the truth to them. They will respect and they will really receive the truth, because they will see that I am not selfish just for their own benefit. I am conveying the message to them, presenting the message to them. They will respect me. In any matter, whatever the perspective we look at the matter, this subject seems to be more important than I thought before. Any matter, if it is used for a temporary purpose or owned by a temporary understanding, and this truth loses all its value, and people, although they may not really be the men of truth, but they want the men of truth to be honest, and they reject the truth, they don't benefit it, because if they don't see sincerity in us, which means selfless, how do you say, not selfish. If they see us, if they see me as selfish person, I'm conveying the message to the other just because in order to benefit them, nothing to do with me, then we will benefit from the truth all together. I'm wrapping up all my understanding of today's class. Thank you.
Yeah, mashallah, thank you for sharing. That's a beautiful example. A very humbling example, I think, especially with the proof of that, of the truth landing on the messenger of God, peace and blessings upon him, and how sincerity has, we can witness the truth have being sent down for generations and generations and reaching, which is a testament that I can confirm of how this benefits everyone. And he ends with a prayer. Thank you, Dr. Ali, for sharing that. That was very helpful and very, very beautiful to hear. So I think we're close to time, but the ending prayer, I guess we'll just go to, thank you, Fariha, for bringing our attention to it. God willing, material benefits will not provoke rivalry among you now with this new attitude that we have all, inshallah, received through today's discussion, because we'll start to see every feeling as an ayah and every need as an ayah and connect it back directly to the source and be in union with our brothers and sisters with how we share the truth of the message. You may possibly be deceived in regard to the benefits of the hereafter, like some of those who follow the Sufi path. But how can some personal minor merit be compared with the merit and light manifested in respect of the shared actions mentioned in the above example? And I think that example was beautifully shown through the light of the truth being shared in sincerity. Does anybody have any final thoughts or questions to share? Brother Ali, I see your hand is raised. I'm not sure if it's from before or...
So I, before closing it, I was excited. What I realized after studying many seerah narrations, books, from different perspectives written by different people, bearing in my different perspective of the Prophet's life, what I understood towards the end of the Medina period, neighboring tribes, even not Arab tribes, now non-Arab population, also paid attention to the growing community in Medina. They were not really trained and aware of the teachings of Tawheed, believing in the absoluteness of God, oneness of God, and the existence of eternity, eternal life, paradise, hell, not necessarily those things, because there were only a few companions of the Prophet who were knowledgeable and who were really carrying the message, conveying the message to others. Not many, but I don't know, maybe according to that time, tens of thousands of people embraced Islam from one nation to another. The main factor was not the teachings of the Quran that really infiltrated into their heart. No, the modesty of the Prophet himself. He was living as one of any other ordinary member of Medina community life. He didn't have any special status. He didn't have any special financial power. Even the administrative power, they are called now political power, because he was the administrator. He did never exploit his power and dominated people's minds and life and really oppressed them at all. They heard this news that there is a big community growing in Medina. Their leader is not like our kings, living in the palaces, taking the taxes for himself. looking after their own, or giving the priority to their own family first, and then the other a little bit, others a little bit. That was the main factor. Of course, if you like, disciples of the Prophet Muhammad in his life, the followers, we call it companions, the friends of the Prophet, were also following the same type of life, being modest, not self-centric people, always giving the priority to others. They were the last to take the share from the common property, common life. So they never behaved in a way that we know that the behavior of Omar, Caliph, went to Palestine. It was an interesting historical event. One donkey, he and his helper, somebody accompanies him, 2 people, not the army, man, not the army. And entering Palestine, Jerusalem, on the back of a donkey. You cannot imagine. The empire is rising there. The representative, the leader of the empire, is sharing one donkey with his servant, helper. That was the really main factor on the root of the expansion of Islamic society, Muslim society. And then they learned the Quran afterwards. That was an extremely important ikhlas, sincerity example. That is the way to gain people's heart first. Just doing anything we do in the name of God, for the sake of God, trying to reach the how do you say, rida of God, pleasure of God, but not misunderstand this word. It means just for the sake of God, nothing to do with me, is the main factor in success. Thank you.
MashaAllah, that's a beautiful imagery that brings a very live example. I can picture the whole thing, how true sincerity manifests itself as a very humble way of existing that's very connected to the Creator alone, and then how much abundance is given then to those who practice that way, which reminds me to end on the note of strictly devoting our time, or my time and energy, to this practice of seeing the signs as from the Creator and devoting ourselves to this living in acknowledgement of the Creator alone in a modest way. And that's the best way to be given abundance. Any final thoughts before we close? Okay, I don't see any hands. Thank you all very much for sharing. Alhamdulillah for this discussion. لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد ومن اتبعه إلى يوم الدين. آمين آمين. Thank you all.